Hello and welcome to the After Sermon Podcast, where we learn about a Bible topic, character, or concept. And today we're learning about complacency as we study the sermon, the Common Denominator. The opposite of love is not anger, it's indifference. The opposite of life is complacency.
The complacent person draws false strength from looking back. You can look at what you have done and think that you're in a better position than what you are.
Being complacent, it's always going to catch up to you in some form or another.
To him who overcomes, I will give the right to sit on me on my throne, just as I overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne.
Hi, my name is Christopher, and ladies and gentlemen, you were in for a treat, because today we have returning with us a bit of a history guru. We had her on episode 9, Rise of the Khmer Rouge, and returning this time as the preacher herself, it's Miss Kyra Lee Josie.
Hi everyone.
Well, Kyra, it is good to have you on the podcast again. It's been a while, but we're always glad to have returning guests with us. Well, let's get right into the podcast. Let's go straight in with a recap. But just before we do, if you haven't watched the sermon, The Common Denominator, make sure to go to the link below and come back here later because this podcast is full of spoilers. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the quick recap. Kyra, what was your sermon all about?
So in my sermon, we were looking at complacency and we were looking at historical examples of that, and we actually find, it's in a lot of places. Like, we went back to the Bolsheviks, the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, and we saw what the Romanov dynasty was doing before then, and they were just sitting there, and they weren't doing anything. And then we go all the way back to Julius Caesar, and what was he doing before he got stabbed in the Senate? Well, he was being a bit of a stupid person, increasing numbers to 900. How in the world can you keep your eyes on 900 people? He thought he could, he couldn't. So then we sort of think, complacency is in heaps of places throughout history, and we even go back to the Bible and we see, it's there too. So we're looking at how the Israelites were acting before the Babylonian exile, and in Amos we see it described that they were super complacent. They were just sitting there, they weren't doing anything. We see that that's what we're heading towards today. A lot of us are just really happy to sit here and do nothing, and we know things, like we know what we should do. Maybe we know that we should be doing some sort of mission or service work, or maybe we should be reading our Bibles a little bit more and growing our relationships with God. But it's really easy to just sit here and pretend like, I'm okay because I sort of feel like I'm okay, because we can trick ourselves into thinking that we're doing enough when we're really not.
Yeah.
So that's basically what it was about. Just basically get up and do something, because it's so easy to not, and we're called to do as much as we can as followers of God. So
Awesome.
all right, so let's get into our personal takeaways. Christopher, what did you get out of this sermon?
Well, what I really liked about it, complacency is like a really, it's a really relevant topic, I think, because I think it's something that everybody struggles with. We've actually sort of touched on a similar idea, if you guys remember, in our 3rd episode, the Christmas special. I think still our most watched episode as of yet. But Michael, he had a similar message. He kind of looked at the idea of procrastination. And I think they're kind of two very similar ideas, but they also have some very distinct things about them. Complacency is almost like you're not even thinking about putting it off. You're just in this state of nothingness.
Yeah,
I think it's even worse than procrastination. And it's also that being in that mindset of you're perfectly okay with the status quo, like at the moment, and not making any change to anything. It literally is having no plan of doing anything in the future. It's just, this is the plan.
You're just sitting there.
Sitting there. And so I really liked that quote. I'm going to butcher it to pieces, but essentially it was, the opposite of love is not like anger or whatever, it's indifference.
Yeah.
The opposite of life is complacency. When you said that the first time, it was just like, no.
Yeah, seriously, because it sucks the life out of you. Like,
you
can pretend all you want, and then like suddenly you have like this moment and you're like, I am doing nothing. I never do anything. It's crazy.
Oh man, like you think about how much you do in a day, and then like you think, oh man, I didn't do much today, and then you're like, oh geez, that's like most days of my week. Oh man, that's most weeks in a year.
Yeah.
Where's my life?
It gets worse and worse.
Yeah, it just gets...
Where do all the hours go?
That's it. And you don't know. And I think it's because we very much prioritise within our society very complacent attitude, you know, just like kind of being real chill and stuff. And I think what's happened is we've almost maybe done a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. We've gone from like work really, really hard to, well, if you work too hard, you'll burn yourself out. And so people are just like, oh, you got to rest then. And then we just go, oh, let's rest all the time.
It's okay to, you know, take a rest sometimes, but I feel like complacency is especially bad in our spiritual lives because I don't know about you, but often I'll read like my Bible one time. I'm like, good on you, like, good job, Kyra, you did something, and really I just didn't do anything. I just opened my Bible. That's something, but it's not heaps. Like, I'm not actually doing anything.
It's funny how much we congratulate ourselves when we just like read one page of something, isn't it? It's like, good job, man. You read one page of a book.
Now watch an hour of a TV show.
Yes. It's crazy. Like, so like one of my big personal takeaways was looking at areas in which I have been complacent, especially within, as your focus was, in the spiritual sense. And I also liked all the different historical things, because I don't think we ever think of complacency being like that bad thing.
Oh, it so is. Like,
in
some, like, all of these historical events, French Revolution, Vietnam War, which America still for some reason thinks that they won sometimes. Like, guys. So that and the Bolshevik Revolution and Julius Caesar, you see, like, it's so prevalent. Yeah. And especially in the major turning points in history. You can even look at today's world and you find so many examples in, like, politics, things like that, where people are just sitting there and they're not really, you know, moving on or doing anything. And that's going to end so badly, like, in a few months.
It's funny how we, like, think complacency is just like, oh, you know, it's not too bad, and the world's not going to end, and then you look in history and you go, no, the world has literally been shook by complacency.
No, seriously, and looking at it now, like, it's so hard to see these historical events, these things that are happening now as things that will later be history. So even now, like, I look at the conflict between North Korea and America, which is escalating very rapidly, and I think, oh, that's not gonna become a war.
No,
that's not gonna become a war. So I feel as though if it eventually does, so many of us are going to be surprised.
Yeah.
Because we think of, like, North Korea as, like, this troll of a nation. We're like, oh, we're not going to do anything. They're just there. And then, you know, they definitely, something's going to happen. And it's going to take us all by surprise. And that's definitely what complacency is. You're sitting there blindly and you know that you should be doing something, like, in the back of your mind. But you're still just sitting there like, nah.
Yeah.
And one of the quotes that I used, it was from an anonymous source, is that the complacent person draws false strength from looking back. So you can look at what you have done and think that you're in a better position than what you are. Yeah.
It's so true though. Like, hey, you get to the end of the day and you're like, man, I did a lot, hey, you know? And you've maybe done like 2 things of the 10 that you were supposed to do, but you're like, you know, 2 for 10 isn't bad. That's all right. And then, like, within a week or 2, everything starts catching up on you and you go, oh man.
I should have done more.
Yeah. It reminds me of this proverb, Proverbs chapter 6, verses 10 through 11, if you guys want to listen or read along as we hear. Proverbs 6, verse 10, if you guys want to read this along with us. It says, a little extra sleep, a little more slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. In other words, just like putting it off.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. I did enough for the day. A little rest. Then poverty will pounce on you like a bandit. Scarcity will attack you like an armed robber. I love that, King Solomon. Thank you very much for that verse.
Legend.
Yeah. Just like the fact he says, look, you can't... Being complacent is not going to... ever not going to catch up to you. It's always going to catch up to you in some form or another. And what you were talking about before about, like, just sitting back and being like, oh, nothing, you know, it's all right, nothing's going to happen. It kind of reminds me of the innocent bystanders sort of thing that we looked at. You know, you can be an innocent bystander to an event already taking place, but it's almost like you can also be an innocent innocent, and there's essentially what we concluded there was there's no such thing as an innocent bystander. If you are watching an event and you have the capacity to influence or change that event, by not doing anything, you commit what is referred to as a sin of omission. So sin of commission is I steal, I lie, I cheat. Sin of omission is I don't do something that I should. I do not do the good which I'm obligated to do. And so complacency kind of works like that in that you're thinking ahead of what will come, that event that will come. And it's even crazier than sitting back when the event happens, you know? Because you actually had this time to prepare for it. And then you're just like, nah.
That's the thing. Like,
yeah, you just go, that's all right. And like when it comes to our spiritual life, I think it's really easy to put off like reading your Bible or doing stuff like that, because you go, I just got tomorrow, and then tomorrow turns into next week, and so on and so on and so on. It's really easy because we feel like we've got this extended period of time, but it's the wrong mindset to have.
It's part of the human condition, I think.
Yeah.
Complacency. It's just something within us that we can't really seem to shake off.
Yeah.
Let's go back into it.
Why is that?
Feels good, I guess.
It's interesting, isn't it, that in Genesis 3, God tells Adam, he's like, you're going to work hard. You're going to work the land. You're going to sweat. It's going to be hard. It's almost, I think I've heard some biblical scholars say this. God gave that not as a curse, but as like a blessing, to kind of get humanity to work hard, because he knew that if we didn't have like a purpose or anything to work for, what was it? If you're complacent, you're not living. You're not doing anything.
Seriously.
So like the curse was also sort of like a kind of blessing in disguise. Like, I'm going to make you work. But don't worry, you get like a whole day off, you know?
Yeah.
God also gives them a whole day off from doing their work. So it's not a bad deal, to be honest.
And the sense of achievement after you do something, like something massive or something that you've been putting off, is just so great.
Yeah.
So even though it feels good to like be complacent and sit there at the time, it will come back and bite you, and it is better to do things as you go.
It's interesting, isn't it? You said a little earlier that sometimes though when we are complacent, we'll still try and justify.
All the time.
We'll try and make ourselves feel good, like we have done something, even though we clearly haven't. It's just like,
I'm like, I read like 2 pages. I've got my 30-page reading. Good on me. Like, I've done so much.
Yeah.
No.
Nah, so there were definitely like a lot of really good takeaways from that. Definitely like a really relevant thing that I think everyone, as you said, it's part of the human condition, so I think it's something that everyone could really relate to on that level.
Well, something interesting, this sermon sort of grew out of 2 conversations that I had with my friends at different times. Conversation number 1 happened last year, but it's still very prevalent in my mind. So, Sneaky Kyra was trying to think of ways to get out of doing stuff, I guess. I don't know what my mindset was. But I went and asked one of my friends, and I said, hey, I'll use a name. Hey, Jess, what do you think is the minimum amount of stuff you have to do as a Christian? And she was like, Kyra, that's not the point. And she just looked at me and she was like, I'm so concerned right now. And I was like, no, seriously, like, is there a minimum amount? And I was just sitting there, I was thinking, and I was like, okay, well, obviously, you know, we should do as much as we can. I was like, I don't know what that was, but it was just...
It's an interesting thought, isn't it? What's the minimum?
Yeah.
How much do I have to do to like still be saved? My faith is still acting out my works.
What's the absolute minimum I can do? Like, that's so lazy.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. Afterwards, like, everyone was just looking at me like, Kyra, what were you saying? And I was like, no, I was just thinking, this isn't really for me. Like,
it's a good thought exercise. It's interesting.
Yeah, just thinking about that. And the second conversation happened this year, and it was basically just, is it a sin to be complacent? To just sit there and, you know, the thing, the end result of that question is, well, looking at it in the sermon, because, you know, we are called to do so much more. In the Great Commission, so Matthew 28:19, we're called to go and make disciples of all nations. And as much as it would be nice to, you can't do that by lying in bed. Yeah. So, although you could call people in, like, okay, the point is...
Bedside ministry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, you can't see people when they're sick, except this time the people just come and see you.
Oh, so you get the sick people out of bed and you stay in the bed.
That's basically what it is, though. Like, if we're just sitting here doing nothing, we're expecting the sick people, so maybe the people who haven't heard the message, to come to us. And that's not how it works.
No, Christopher. No.
No. That would be interesting. Just a religion for like really lazy people.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Oh, is there any?
That's what I'm thinking of. Is there a pre-existing one?
What do you have to do when you're a Pastafarian? Like, you have to wear the colander in your head?
Yeah.
But do you have to actually go out and evangelize or actually do anything for this flying spaghetti monster?
Yeah, I don't know, hey. I tell you what, I'm thinking about the other religions, right?
Yeah.
And Christianity may just be the one that is the least demanding of its people in some regards. Because all the other ones are very works-based. Like, you literally have to get your salvation through your works. So if you just stay in bed, you literally cannot get your salvation.
Yeah.
Whereas, Christianity says we're all in sin. The only way to get out is through accepting the atonement of Christ on the cross, faith, grace through faith alone.
Yeah. So a lot of other religions are basically like, what can you do for God, for your God, or the particular deity that is at the forefront of that religion, or deities. And in Christianity, it's all the work's already been done for us.
The hard work's done. Yeah, all we have to do is go out and tell more people about it, and inform them of the grace that we are getting, and it's pretty good. Good deal. It's a good deal. And, it's funny how we have to motivate ourselves to tell people the good news, isn't it?
Because sometimes it's hard.
It is. And that's not saying it's hard, but it's interesting, isn't it? That we kind of, have to motivate yourself. Like, you're not always in that mindset. Like, I mean, it's a bit harsh to compare a casual lay member to Paul the Apostle. But, I doubt Paul was ever not in the mindset of, I meet someone, I proselytize. That's not even strictly speaking about preach him a sermon, sit down and have a Bible study. He's just thinking the whole time, how am I being a witness for God? Even just through my actions.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that sometimes, I fall into this trap. I kind of have to go, all right, switch into Christian mode. I'm like, what?
Oh, that's so true.
No, you can't do that. You're supposed to be the whole time.
I'm the same. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, is it like Christian alter ego? Oh, no.
No.
No. But definitely, you have to switch it on and switch it off. No.
It's weird because it shows.
Does that happen?
It shows that you are kind of in this sort of complacent mindset, in that you're just like, only switch on when
when I'm in this context.
Yeah, within a certain context.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I'm pretty sure, you ask most Christians, they'll say, I identify as a Christian. And I think most people, would at least be trying to live their lives as Christians. I think it's more when it comes to social interactions that we have to do the switch on. Because when it's just you doing your casual life, I think most people are sort of there, But of course, people are on different parts of their spiritual journeys.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly with social interactions that you kind of have to switch on, because then you just go, all right, I got to be witness now. It's kind of were the whole time.
You have to be the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully you get to the point where, that's so ingrained in you that you don't need to switch it on or off. But, that's really hard, because in different social settings, I do find myself, getting into different mindsets and thinking in different ways. And
I tell you what, here's one I've been noticing recently. For those who don't know, at the moment, I'm studying a Bachelor of Ministry in Theology. And so every now and then, I'll switch into, practice pastor mode. I'll be like, okay, I'm studying for this, I should be getting into this mindset. So for example, whenever I go into op shops now, I switch on and I look out for any Christian little devotional books or anything.
Oh, yeah.
For $1 or $2, I'm like, that'll be great, I can give these to contacts and stuff. And then I go to the op shop, pastor mode off. Or I'll see something happening, or somebody's come up to me with a problem that they want advice for, and I go, pastor mode on. And then I'm finished talking to them, I go, pastor mode off. And I thought to myself, I'm like, what? Wait a tick. Why am I switching it on and off? It should just be constant. And then here's the thing, I was thinking about it, and I thought to myself, the things that I'm doing are not pastor things. These are just Christian things.
Yeah.
Helping people, looking for Christian books for your friends. I was thinking to myself, why didn't I just do this when I'm not in that mode? Everyone should be doing this. This isn't just the calling for certain people in the church. That's for all people to be doing these things. And yet I found myself being complacent when I wasn't in pastor mode, because I was kind of relying on other people to fill in the position of pastor mode for me. And then, so like when I was in an op shop, there's no one to do that. It's just me. So I was like, oh, it has to be me now. But I found it really convicting that I literally, no one else had. If no one else was there, only then would I get out of that complacency
and jump into that.
Yeah,
but that's also because we're often conditioned.
That's true.
You know, like you're young, like for you're in training. You know, do you have to be doing all this now because there's other people who can do it for you?
Yeah.
And that's always something that I found. This will be your job one day. One day, but for now, you just sit and you watch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but why not just like jump in now?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, like you look at Paul. And Paul just goes, right, Timothy, you're a young guy. I'm literally going to make you a pastor of a church. Like, and you think about it and you go, wow, that was like one of the like original apostolic churches, like the responsibility that came with that. But like under Timothy would have been all these elders and all these other people, you know, all these people who were just wanting to do stuff as well. Like, I think you're right. We grow up a little bit conditioned to kind of assume that these people in these positions of authority can handle it. It comes back to that idea of the delegation of responsibility. Yeah. Oh, I don't have to proselytize. That's what the evangelist is for.
Yeah.
It's like,
no, it's all of us.
See, you're kind of an evangelist as well.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't have to help out. I don't know, with whatever in the church, like upkeep, whatever. That's what so and so's for. It's like,
although I don't particularly want to do the working bees.
Not
gonna lie.
You want the church, you gotta work for it.
No. But thinking about that, it's also often hard to find ministry opportunities.
That is true, yeah.
Like, you can want to do something, like, right now I'm in a very Christian saturated environment. You know, I'm going to Christian college, and, you know, all of my closest friends are Christian, all of them are Seventh-day Adventists. So, which is great. It's good, but I don't have any
mission field.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
That's true. That's there. Yeah, I empathize because back in like year 11 and 12, my friend group the majority of them weren't Christian, and it was really great. I got to do Bible studies with them, but I just enjoyed hanging out with them, and like it was fulfilling to be able to do that, to like fulfill that call that we're given. And like I agree, in a similar situation here now, like both at a Christian college, and it's just like,
we're all Christian.
Yeah, what do you do? What do you do? And I mean, like you can still, you know, help people in their spiritual journeys like together.
Yeah.
But you're not. There's as you said, very little opportunity to bring people in that aren't already here in it. So I agree. Sometimes it is difficult to find those ministry opportunities.
Yeah. So I guess just take any that come. Like
just say yes. God sends one your way.
Yes.
Take it. Don't be complacent.
Take it. Do the thing. Basically. Even though the thing can take effort.
The thing's going to take effort?
Sometimes. I mean, often. See, the hardest things are the things that take effort.
But is it those things that are most worth doing?
Always.
Good. Well, Kyra, that was a very prolonged segment for personal takeaways, but I think we got a lot done there. But let's go on to the main meat of our podcast. Or, well, I don't even know if it's the main meat at this point, but anyway, the cutting room floor. Christopher, what is the cutting room floor? The cutting room floor is the segment where we discuss the parts of the sermon that didn't make it into the final product and break them down. Thanks, Chris. All right. So, Kyra.
Well, there's like the two Christophers.
All right, Kyra. So, what were some of the things that you didn't quite get to put in the sermon, but you'd like to share with us now?
Yeah. So there was quite a lot that I didn't get to put into the sermon. So, looking in Revelation, actually, we get this picture of these 7 different churches, and these churches represent the Christian church at various stages in time. And what we find through studying a whole process is that we are the 7th church right now. We are in that last stage. Yeah. And that church is Laodicea. This is in Revelation 3, and So there's a description of this church, and this church is like super complacent. So just reading in verse 16, yeah. Oh no, 15. I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth. You say, I am rich, I have acquired wealth, and do not need a thing. But you do not realize that you are wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. So it's a bit cutting, hey?
That's pretty beautiful, though.
It is, yeah. So pretty much what's being said here is, this is like God speaking. Like, you don't know what you are. Like, sometimes you'll do things, sometimes you'll get, like, really keen, you'll jump out, and other times you're just sitting here, and you're doing nothing, and what God says is, yeah, don't, stop. I don't like that at all. And we sort of see that back in a verse that we looked at in the sermon, I believe it was in Zephaniah, where God says, I abhor the complacent. Like, absolutely would not create again.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so we can fool ourselves into thinking, so this church, Laodicea, is thinking, oh, you think you're pretty cool, aren't you? Like, you're sitting here, and then God's like, no. You're naked, you're wretched, you're pitiful, you're poor. You think that you're more than that? No, you're not.
Yeah.
And that's really, really interesting, because it's really easy to go back into, like we were saying before, the historical examples and be like, well, like, I'm not. Like, you know, you can trick yourself into thinking that you're not, but definitely we are, and it's just going to get worse. But what's really cool is that in verse 21, it says, to him who overcomes, so that's like the church, and I will give the right to sit on me on my throne, just as I overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne. So, you know, there's a big incentive.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Big incentive to get up and do something. Not that you need the incentive. Ooh. Is this behaviorism? No. Anyway, sorry. But yeah, not that you need the incentive, but, you know, it says in verse 20, God is literally right there, and he's like, hey, guys.
Yeah.
Guys, like, come on, wake up.
Yeah.
You need to do something, because he says, you know, here I am, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with him, and he with me. So it's basically saying, I'm knocking, but you're not hearing. And when you hear, you know, I will be with you. So you definitely, it's about taking that step and, you know, taking those risks and moving on from beyond just sitting here and being like, yep. It's basically just sitting in front of like this fire and it's just burning down like your house behind you, and you're just ignoring it. You're like, oh, yeah, I smell the smoke. And you're like, no, don't turn around.
Don't turn around.
Because if you look and there's a fire, it makes it real. It's like Scrooge and his cat.
Ooh.
Yeah. So you're both saved and not saved. Whoa. No, that's not how it works.
Much heresy.
Yeah, much heresy. Cut that out.
I like how he says in verse 17, because you say, I am rich, I have become wealthy, I have need of nothing. And you were saying that each of these churches represent different times in our history, and that this church refers to us. And like, how true is that for today's kind of mentality, especially in the Western world? We've kind of rejected this idea of God, and I think people even within the church are becoming more complacent because we have things so easy. It's so easy. Everything, like, we live, like, I don't know what the stats are, like, specifically, but I know that basically you live in the Western world, you're, like, in the top 10% or something of, like, the world's wealthiest people. Like, we are crazy. We think of ourselves as, like, poor and broke as. We are crazy rich in comparison to the majority of the world. Yeah. We've become wealthy. We don't have any need of anything. Like, I think if we face it, you live in the Western world, chances are you got it good. You got it good. Yeah. You got what you need to get through the day, you know?
But what's interesting is that with that, we're seeing this well-being crisis. So people, we're rich and we're doing well, but well-being-wise, oh boy, it's terrible. People are more lonely than ever. You know, rates of mental illness increasing, everything. All these terrible well-being factors are just going up because people aren't interacting. That's what it's become. And that's part of, like, this lukewarm sort of thing. Like, we're not witnessing, we're not going out, and we see back in like the past churches, like they were facing persecution. That's a pretty good incentive.
I tell you what, I've heard this interesting theory. It has to do with the state of humanity, and the idea is that the more we kind of like neuter or like domesticate the world around us, the less we grow as like a people, because we have nothing to kind of motivate us. Now I'm not like saying like war is great because it makes us move, but just like the idea that when things are tough, it what's
the tough get going.
Yeah. Like
that's
you start
doing
moving,
things.
you start doing things, and so like we live in, I think, the most cushy, soft society ever.
That's
like
so true.
we are more privileged than people throughout history. The Pharaoh in Egypt could not travel faster than his horses could go.
Yeah.
We literally fly at hundreds of kilometers.
Oh, that's crazy.
The Pharaoh of Egypt could not listen to the music of anyone who was deceased. You can only listen to live music. You can listen to anyone who's recorded anything in the past, 60 years.
We can listen to the oldest, like, ever composition. Like.
It's crazy. Pharaoh of Egypt could not create ice. He had no freezer to put his ice in.
That's really sad.
It's really sad
really
considering
hot,
the
like,
heat of Egypt. Pharaoh of Egypt could not condition the air around him.
Look at us.
When somebody like my dad was the one who came up with this idea of like, see how many things you have that like the Pharaoh of Egypt didn't have, and he said air conditioner. I was like, I have an air conditioner.
It's crazy.
And I thought to myself, I'm like, you always just say, oh, you turn the AC on, and then you're like, hang on, this machine literally conditions the air around me to a specific temperature.
And we think that's normal.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? In Australia, I found this out yesterday. All Australians are like legally required to, well, not required, I can't remember the correct terminology, but legally the government has to provide television access to them.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
And I was like, are you kidding me? That's like television is like a human right now. Television is literally like a human right now.
Wow.
What kind of world do we live in where it's like food, water, safety, education, television?
But you know what's crazy? How quickly most of that could be taken away.
Oh yeah.
Like we have this thing called the internet. Heard of it? Yeah.
Oh.
Weird. The internet.
The internet.
And we all like to live on it, like pretty constantly. And you know, it would be so easy for that just to disappear. It's so easy for like the power grids to go down.
Oh dear.
So easy. And I know I would be dead within like the first hour.
The world would literally melt down.
Basically, it's insane. And looking at it, we're looking at it looks like there's not a mission field in Australia, right? Because everyone's rich, everyone's doing well. You know, a lot of people have heard the message. But looking at the latest census results, you know, the no religion in Australia is growing like 30%.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah.
And it's been this pretty steady growth up until that point. But from 2011 to 2016, it skyrocketed.
Wow.
Insane. And looking at it, the decline in Christianity in Australia is also skyrocketing, but you know, the other way. So what's that, like roller coaster? Plummeting, that's the one. Wow. Many smart. But, so it's plummeting, definitely. So we went from like 67 and I think 2006. I really hope I'm getting these numbers right. I'm not making them up. And then like 61, 2011. Oh man, I really hope so. And then 2016, we see like 57, I think. I think that's what it was. I hope that's what it was. But anyway, you know, it's been this like, it's been plummeting.
Yeah,
like,
the general idea is, it's
very quickly, Yeah,
it's true. And as you were saying before, like, we feel rich in all these aspects, but we're really not doing well at, like, actually living life.
Yeah.
As you said, like, mental illnesses, like, you're seeing a lot of, especially in adolescence, self-esteem issues, a lot of people dealing with depression, suicide,
Yeah, my brother's currently doing HSC, and he often quotes this. He's saying, the levels of current school children are those of patients in a mental asylum.
Basically.
In 1950, like the stress levels.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we have a lot of real issues in society, and, like, I feel like every second book or every second, like, TV ad is all about make your life better. We're so obsessed in self-help and trying to or like everyone's obsessed with going on a big diet because they feel
Yeah.
terrible about their current body image. Like we got
Yeah.
all these different problems that we're going through.
Fictionally, we like living in the worst case scenario.
That's interesting.
Looking at all the rise of the dystopia, of like, what? I guess we like thinking, oh, it could be worse.
Yeah,
the government
yeah.
could be like this benevolent dictator, and then you look at it, you're like, please,
Please don't.
please don't. So I had a look in 1 Corinthians, and so verse 32, and it's our boy Paul, and what he's pretty much saying here, I should probably just track it down because I didn't write it down properly, but he's saying, where is it? Yeah. This is funny. I love the way Paul writes. Like, brothers, I could not address you as spiritual, but as worldly, mere infants in Christ.
Oof.
Yeah, hard hitting.
Where are we at the moment?
1 Corinthians 3:2.
3:2.
Yeah, 3:2.
Okay.
This is verse 2. I gave you milk, not solid food, for you were not yet ready for it. Indeed, you are still not ready.
Oof.
So he's writing to the church in Corinth, and he's saying, "Yep, you're still of the world.
Yeah.
You're not really doing anything, and you should be taking on like spiritual food by now. So great learning, things like that. But all I can give you is like these little like snippets. Like you're like a baby.
That's interesting. Hey, how we can kind of stunt our spiritual growth.
Yeah.
Just by not feeding ourselves.
Yeah, and you can think, oh, that's enough, because I know I do that. I'm like, I'm pretty okay. Like, it's all good. I know stuff. Like, you can think that, like Bible trivia and something, you've got yourself down. I'm like, yes, I do know that the tribe of Benjamin was left-handed. Like, that's important. But is that...
such essential to my theology.
It is, though. Like, but is that... Knowing that, is that helping my spiritual journey at all?
Yeah, no, not much.
Really, not much.
Not really.
Yeah, not really. Yeah, so it's just really interesting because you can think, you can think that you're moving forward, but really you're just taking on like more and more of nothing.
And here's the thing: I think you could go your whole Christian journey just by going on milk.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, you could be complacent and just decide to keep the milk. Doesn't mean you should. Like, it's just dumb. Like, if you saw, like a full-grown adult just like drinking milk every day, you'd go like, mate, do you realize
stop.
You realize there's this thing called food? It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You go, yeah, solid food.
Ooh.
It's really good stuff.
It's good stuff.
It comes in heaps of different flavors.
Man shall not live on milk alone.
Well, yeah. You'd say that guy is an idiot, and yet, like,
yeah,
it's always the spiritual. I find we always make excuses in the spiritual. We're just like, I can cope with this milk,
Yeah.
And then interestingly, I've had other people. I know people, members of my church. They've given testimonies about how they kind of did some church hopping around, and they said the reason that they left their original churches was they just said I wasn't getting anything. I was just getting milk all the time. They said, like that's fine for other people who are at the beginning of their spiritual journeys. But they said I had gotten what I needed, and I needed to move on and find like sustenance, something to challenge me. And like I really respect that because for some people it's like a big deal, to move from a church. You have like family, you have connections, you've done social stuff with these people, and so I really respect like the spiritual maturity of these people to very peacefully and very friendly, say their farewells to at least meeting those people at the church, and then
I can't imagine doing that. And
then going somewhere else because they realize it's time for me to move on to get that sustenance. Like that's a big deal.
But at the same time, you don't always have to move on.
You don't always have to.
Yeah, but definitely.
For example, you could be a mentor at that church helping those people. So it's wherever God leads you.
Yeah.
And for these people, God had led them there. And so I respect their conviction to answer that call.
Yeah. So we definitely, like, if we're complacent and we're just sitting there like, we're never gonna mature spiritually and we're never gonna be able to take on, hopefully you shouldn't be taking any leadership roles
Yeah.
if you're not really doing anything.
You go to your pastor's office and he's just like wiping away like the milk. He's just like, yep, sorry, what? Alright, so Kyra, do you have any recommended readings?
Well, sort of. Have you ever done a spiritual gifts test, Christopher?
I have.
Yes. What did you find yours were? Do you remember?
I think it was like a tie between leadership and administrative.
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, the administration.
I don't know.
Yeah, I did mine, and mine was, I think, teaching up there.
Oh, there we go.
That's pretty good.
That works.
I'm studying teaching. But so what I would definitely recommend is going on and finding one of those and doing the test and seeing what your gifts come out as, because that gives you some indication. It's not the be all end all, but an indication of where you might want to serve and how you might want to get out into the community to share and not be complacent, because that's a good first step, knowing what you're good at.
Yeah.
And also I'd really recommend taking those steps of faith, because you can have talents and, you can write things or you can make things and never share them with the world. But, we're given these talents for a reason. I believe, and, there's a saying, like, so cliche, but if you don't use it, you lose it. Which is so true, though, so true.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just using your talents, getting out there, and just sharing. And I guess also, I don't know, here I am like being like, oh yeah, go do this, but I guess trying to think of ways that you can, increase, like, up your spiritual life, and so, like, listening to the podcast, what? Listening to sermons, doing your own study, that's the most important thing, because you can listen to things like this and, you're getting mine and Christopher's view of God, but you really need to develop your own picture, because otherwise you're never really going to be able to share as effectively as you could if you don't have your own picture of God. So.
Yeah, so true. Well, there we go. That's the first recommended action.
Yeah.
I need to come up with a catchy name for it now. Well, what is it? It's an action. It's a commission.
Whoa.
Do you have
Kyra's commission.
Kyra's commission. That concludes.
It's not great though.
Kyra's mediocre commission for the day.
Yeah, basically.
Oh well, Kyra, where can these people find you?
So I do have a YouTube channel. It is not under my proper name. No. It's Bugs is an artist. There is a story behind that. All no spaces. So Bugs is an artist. Christopher, where can these people find you?
Well, these people can find me here every fortnight on the After Sermon podcast, as well as on my YouTube channel Christopher Peterson, spelled with an S-E-N. You can also find me and our other co-host Jesse Marks on 3ABN Australia Radio for I think the rest of the quarter of this year.
That's a little bit exciting.
It is a bit. If you go to the 3ABN Australia website, you can see some program guides and you can find out when we are going to be on air, on radio, and on what frequency we'll be on near you.
Can't escape them.
Can't escape us. No matter where you are in Australia, you cannot escape us. We will be there. So, we, Jesse and I and another lady, Carly Fraser, we've been working really hard on these programs and really excited to be able to share them with you. And by the time this episode goes up, the first two episodes might have already played. So make sure to find out when those are. And yeah, don't worry, I think this might be the only time I plug that. But it's exciting news, so I thought I'd share it with you. Well, don't forget, everybody, that the After Sermon podcast is now available on more platforms than ever. We've got YouTube, we have SoundCloud, we have Podbean, we got iTunes, we've got everything.
So many things.
So many. So make sure to subscribe on all those platforms. Follow us on Facebook as well. That way you get the sermon that we talk about a week in advance before the After Sermon podcast comes out. Thank you so much for supporting us, guys, and for listening in with us. That concludes today's podcast, and we hope you've been blessed as we've discussed complacency and how to fix it as we studied the sermon, the Common Denominator. Make sure to come back in a fortnight for another episode, and with that said, have a good one, and
good night.
Good night.